Good late morning, everyone. Social media friends of mine, social media friends of my co-host Stewart, who you will see shortly, and social media friends of a surprise guest. I'm not going to even share with you his name yet because, well, if you're friends with this guy, you'll know who he is. It will be obvious. So first thing first, my apologies. My apologies to you. I lost track of time. So thank you for tuning in today's episode of Real Living in Chicagoland. And for those of you who are watching this either as a live stream or as an on-demand recording, let's do a big woohoo. January's behind us. And for those of you, if you were unfortunate like me to have been a victim of a busted water pipe, January for me was not fun because it was disruptive. It was freaking inconvenient. All right. And right now, as I'm talking to you, I'm trying to put everything back in place. So, not a fun thing. By the way, our surprise guest today is and will be someone you need to know. So, all of that being said, let me bring in my co host, Stewart, into the room. Mr.
Hey,
Ramirez, how are you?
good. How are you, Bill?
I'm doing well. My apologies for starting late with you guys. Technical difficulty, but no, it wasn't that. It was that of I kind of lost track of time there. So thank you for hanging with me and then popping in here.
No, no worries. It's
All
all
right.
good.
So we were catching up real fast earlier. And Stuart, you surprised me. For as long as I've known you, you surprised me because I asked you, I said, well, hey, how are things? And then I mentioned January's behind us. And you're like, hey, I'm doing all right. I did my taxes. And I'm like, whoa, Stuart, you're quick on the trigger, buddy.
Yeah. I guess I learned a few years ago. It's better to just get it done early, get it done right away. Um, and I always have to produce numbers.
Right.
Unfortunately, I'm a divorced dad, so
Yeah.
you got to always produce that proof of where the income's coming from.
Yeah.
So just always ready with my numbers and able to pop them out in a few hours.
I hear you. I hear you. I would say the upside, the benefit of you doing something sooner, earlier, rather than later is for me, for our audience members, and for those new sellers and buyers, you can now focus all of your attention on them as opposed to paying Uncle Sam.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right. Why don't we lead off like we always do, Stuart, with you dropping your expertise with a local market update. Share with us trends. This is important, audience members. If you are thinking about selling your home or buying your first or next home, this is important stuff. So, Stuart, you're in the hot seat.
All right. So, first and foremost, we definitely are down on inventory. It's real important that if you're thinking about listing your home, even remotely, it is time to list. We don't know what the future is going to bring as far as the market's concerned, but right now it really is a seller's market. There's not enough out there. So, it's the time to get your house on the market and profit. Hopefully, you're downsizing, or maybe you have a second home that you can retire to, or you have someplace already that you have, pre-set up, and then you don't have to enter the buyer's market. Speaking of the
Yeah.
buyer's market, that being said, because it is a seller's market, it's really tough out there. I wrote 3 offers this week that just passed, and unfortunately, I have to admit, I lost all 3 offers.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's really tough. I mean, I have a buddy who's, super active like myself, and he's experiencing the same thing. We're dealing with 10, 15, 20 offers again. And it's, minimum six. And when you got to compete against buyers that have cash, and you're, my buyers, we're not
Yeah.
cash buyers, you're at the short end of the stick. I mean, you're behind the eight ball. So it's tough to win when, you don't have a solid loan,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I have one client that's FHA, $10,000 in closing costs. Going into that, it's literally spitting in the wind. So buyers got to be ready. Got to have a strong lender behind you, a lender that can, give you commitment letter ahead of time, just things of strength, a lender who knows what the right things in a market like this are to do.
Yeah, spot on. As we've talked about, because of the supply problem right now that we're experiencing, Stewart, you and I have joked about it. It's kind of like the game of musical chairs. There's only so many chairs on the floor, and some of you buyers, you're not going to sit down. You're going to have to keep doing the ring around the rosy looking for that chair.
Right.
And as Stewart mentioned, he is spot on. If you are a buyer and you're ready and you're willing, but you're questioning whether you're able, perhaps you haven't chosen a lender to support you, or you've chosen a lender, but yeah, something's amiss. That's where I come in. I can certainly support you to answer the hard question. Are you able? Are you able to move up to your maximum purchasing power? And of course, what is your maximum borrowing capacity? But beyond that, Stewart and I know this as well. Real estate is a relationship business. So if it takes me tag teaming with Stewart to drop a call to the seller's broker to give it that live human touch of John Doe, yes, I know him. He's a strong buyer. By the way, we're 60% in the loan process. We have a loan commitment. We just need to do title, do appraisal, if that's even required, tie up loose ends, and then it's almost like cash.
Right. Absolutely. And unfortunately, there's just like, realtors, there's a million realtors out there. There's a million lenders out there, and they're not all good. So, as a consumer, the number one thing you have to do is find somebody like Bill, where they're solid, they're reliable, they're giving you good information, and most importantly, they're giving you good advice, preparing you for the marketplace. Because if you go into this blindsided, you go into this with a newer agent and a online pre-approval. I don't know how many people I've seen that, come to me with an online pre-approval. You're going to lose every single time. You're not going to win that bid. And that's the really hard part. You got to have the connections. You got to have a lender that's willing. I know Bill is always willing to call the list agent, to verify, yes, I've done this. I've checked credit. I've checked for funds. We're ready to go. This is a solid buyer. That's the kind of stuff that you need from a lender. So it's real important. You got to stick it out there, guys.
Yeah, great advice, great reminders. Let's now move the conversation to another one of your very enjoyable activities, because Stewart, you're pretty damn good at it. And that is selling the new paint smell, the new construction home. How is that going for you right now? Can you lean in and tell us a little bit more about that?
It's going great. I mean, new construction is really great from the standpoint of you get everything new, you get to pick what you want. In my mind, the only drawback right now is it's not ready right now, right? There are a couple builders in Chicagoland that are building pre-existing homes, like D.R. Horton is really famous for it. They'll build a home and then they'll sell it, or they'll have it almost done and then they'll start promoting it. So you can always find a home there. the problem with that is most of the choices are already made for you. So very little choice in what you want and what you're going to get in your home. You can change paint colors, but that's an add-on, and that's after the fact. But most of the semi-custom or custom, or even the smaller builder, even though they're building similar places to like what D.R. Horton does, they're smaller. So they're not going to build 10 to 20, 15 homes in advance. They're going to wait until you order it so that you can choose your counters, so that you can choose your floors, so that you can choose your light fixtures, and the exchanges, you got to wait for it. So
yeah,
you're going to be able to move in. You're not going to be able to move in for 7 months to a year. And that's typical right now. In a lot of cases, it's a year out. So it's tough out there. And even the builders are having a lot of competition.
Yeah, true. Reminder, hey, good things come to those who wait. And then second cliche that I'll drop, Stewart's going to nod his head. Hopefully you'll chuckle a little bit. Real estate is a team sport. You got to make sure sellers, buyers, you got the right team members on the field helping you move to the end zone. By the way, I'm using football analogy in case you didn't pick that up, because guess what? Sunday, football. Love it.
Super Bowl is late this year.
I know.
So the real estate market started. Usually I tell everybody it's right after Super Bowl, but since Super Bowl's late, real estate has already started. Like I said, I bid three bids this week and lost them all. So it's off to the races already.
Yeah. And for those of you who know Stewart, who is maybe a past client, maybe a repeat client right now with Stewart, or maybe you're not a client yet with Stewart, that's why you're watching this video. It's never too late to start that phone conversation, because guess what? With how mean, lean, and fast Stewart is, he may be calling you on Super Bowl Sunday while he's enjoying the game saying, hey, your offer got accepted. And then we're clapping for you.
Right, for sure. For sure.
All right, Stewart, next question. You're still in the hot seat, buddy. Is it any harder to sell an existing home versus the brand new construction home? What's your opinion to that question?
It's not harder to sell it. It's easier to sell an existing home because everything's there, right? And then when people come to your house, they know already they like it or they don't like it. Yeah. The important part about selling your existing home, though, is having it ready to go. Like in today's marketplace, the buyers absolutely want what we call in the industry turnkey. They want to move in and that's it. They want to do as little as possible.
Yeah, I've heard that from the young'uns, the younger generation, as well as Stewart, even the baby boomer generation, which have been the largest segment of seller buyers who are, kind of rocking it because, one, they got the equity, right? Second, they got money.
Right.
So that's always helpful.
It's funny, Bill, that you mentioned the baby boomers, because those baby boomers, back when they were young, they were fixing, repairing, they were building sweat equity.
Right.
But now those same baby boomers, they don't want to do that anymore. They don't want to buy something they got to fix. They're too old. They're too tired. They're done with that. They just want to buy and move in or sell and move out. So it's funny how they transitioned. And I guess I firmly believe their mindset of not doing anything has transferred to today's generations. Now they don't want to do anything. They just want to move in.
Yeah. We're all now kind of living in some shape or form what I call instant gratification. I don't want to DIY stuff. Outsource it. So with that word said 3 times, let's welcome into the studio with us your friend, your special guest, Stewart, who I just started a relationship to know as well. Let's welcome Steve, the Toolbox, or Mr. Toolbox. Let's go. Hello, Steve.
Good morning.
I love your view.
My, I'm shower. So
You're doing a bathroom remodel. Got it.
Yeah. So Steve is a really excellent handyman, repair guy, remodeling guy. He's done a ton of work for me. And he knows, he's seen it, the changes that he's made for people when they're selling their home. It's been incredible. I think Steve will admit that he finds it funny that people do all this nice stuff to their house just so they can move out.
they live with this garbage. They live with this garbage for years. Move out, their house looks very.
Yeah.
It's people.
Yeah.
Or all the doors. Walls. A lot of.
I think, Steve, you were trying to tell us with what you do, how you work your magic, your mojo. You have to demo some walls. I see evidence of that. And I see the start of the new tile job you're dropping in for those clients. Lovely, lovely. Now, Steve, I think I learned this from you. In your previous life, you were in the corporate world, right?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, right before COVID, I was a creative director for agencies and corporations. So as soon as COVID hit, I was put on furlough. I went right into building decks. I'm not going to sit around. So I built a couple decks. I told my wife, I said, hey, listen, I'm not going back. This is here. And, it's not something I just picked up. I've always been doing this. Wife's a realtor as well, Stewart knows. And her and I flipped a few homes. So I know where I'm found. And I worked at for Humanity and stuff like that. So I know a few things.
I love that story. So you shed from your previous life the suit and tie, or the fancy corporate wear, for regular Joe wear like I'm doing today, and you work from experience. You flip property, so it's not like you're just a level one handy person. Love that.
Yeah, and I'm as happy as can be. I wish I did this my whole life.
Yeah, and from what and from what you told me, you kind of hinted to me that you've got more work than you have time on the clock, right?
That's true. I pick and choose, and but in 1 week, I told Stewart this earlier. Last week, I started my remodel on the bathroom. I was working on a rental up in Island Lake. I was working on a restaurant reopen in Barrington, helping them to get started, building out their counters and what have you. I put in a sump pump, and I put in 2 garage door openers, and that was just last week. So
yeah, well,
so,
the sump pumps, those are critical stuff, man.
I know my stuff.
Those are absolutely critical stuff. So, audience members, you heard it from Steve, the Toolbox, your local contractor here in the greater Chicagoland. He's got corporate experience. So for those of you who are design types, he could probably have a conversation with you if he remembers from his corporate days to break the ice with you. But the real benefit for those of you watching today is you heard it from the guy. He's done little stuff to big stuff, and we see evidence of it with his live background today from his mobile phone. Love it, Steve. Stewart, thank you for sharing this relationship with me and with all of us, and just to show evidence of how tight these two guys are, Stewart, I remember the day I must have hit you up through a text, because I know you're always busy doing the thing. So I'm like, I'll text him, he'll at least respond. And from your Facebook post, I said, what are you doing now? You trying to DIY stuff, Stewart? And you said, yeah, I'm learning from one of my relationships. And I said, well, hey, let's invite him into one of our episodes. So there you are.
Yeah. It was a great experience with Steve. He actually showed me quite a bit. It was really fun to learn and know that I had somebody that was doing the job better than I could ever do. That's for sure. So it's a relief. I like to get my hands dirty. And so, I definitely was in it with him and working things, and he was kind of guiding me and watching what I was doing. So that was cool.
That's good. I love that story. Steve, what do you want to say?
Pardon me?
I said, what did you want to say? You were about to say something.
Oh, when I work with people like friends, close friends,
I lost half of that, but
we'll have to read his lips. We'll have to read his lips. All right, gents. Steve, I'm not going to keep you from the active bathroom remodeling that you're doing right there for a client. Lucky for those clients, they're gonna bathe and shower in the new environment with you from your mojo. Love it.
All right. Appreciate
All right.
you.
So as we wrap up today's episode of Real Living in Chicagoland, if you need to start a conversation with Stewart because you have been thinking about it, and that is you want to get to the next chapter of your life. You're going to sell that home. You're going to bust out of that locked-in feeling. You're locked in a low rate. And here's my challenge to you. Screw the low rate. It's still debt, people. Get the debt you want with the home that you really want to live in. And by the way, when and if you need some help, because you cannot, like me, DIY anything, you outsource, call Steve, Mr. Toolbox. How can you get a hold of him? Simply scan QR code for Stewart and or myself. We'll bring you into a simple three-way text conversation so that you can get the right team, the right real estate team for your needs so that you can move into the end zone. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into today's episode of Real Living in Chicagoland. Steve, I'm going to let you get back to your demo work. Thank you for joining your friend Stewart and me today.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve. It was good seeing you.
All right. Thanks, fellas.
All right. See ya.
Take care, guys.